So there we go. We're on our mental fitness session, April the 27th. So, Mackie, this is all about mental fitness and
Yes,
how being mentally fit, how will it benefit you? And I know that you know already some things about personal development, actually, because we've spoken before.
yes.
So that's great. And hopefully this will add to what you already know, you know.
Hmm.
And it's nothing better than other things. People are sharing a lot of good stuff these days. So this is just one way of looking at things, you know. So
Okay.
have an open mind. It's not definitely this is the only way or any of that nonsense. It's just one way to share with people that they can then become happier and have a better life, basically.
Hmm.
No, this is what we want to do. We want to go from any feelings of stress to feeling really nice and relaxed and calm. And we want to be
Hmm.
able to do that anytime. So, you know me,
Yes.
I'm a Rimba, you know I'm a mental fitness coach. And I teach people to exercise the muscles in their mind because we
Hmm.
all know how to exercise our physical body.
Yes.
We know that we have to go to the gym regularly or we exercise regularly. We wouldn't expect to exercise on a Monday and then be fit by Friday and then never go
Yes.
back again, you know?
Yes.
It's a constant thing. So it's kind of like a lifestyle, isn't it?
Hmm.
And it's the same with the muscles in our mind, actually. You know, we're not taught to exercise the muscles in our mind, although there are things that we do as human beings that we are doing that, but we may not be aware that that's actually what we're doing. And that's why we're feeling better. Now, this pop-up thing is annoying in the corner, but never mind, it'll do what it does.
Hmm.
Um, okay, I think I might actually just move us up here because I don't like to keep seeing that pop-up there.
Oh, the one on the top right hand
Yeah,
side.
it
Yes.
just keeps
Okay.
popping up all the time.
Hmm.
If I can just close it there, hopefully it won't keep popping up. If I move us over here and then over here. Let's see. If it does, I'll ignore it, but I'll try and get rid of it for now. Okay, play. Brilliant. Okay. So yeah, the aim of this mental fitness is when we are mentally fit,
Hmm.
feel happier, we feel more calm, and we have a balance in our life. So there are two aspects to mental fitness. One of them is exercising the mental muscles, and the other one is understanding how we self-sabotage. And all of us, human beings, are sabotaging ourselves all of the time. We're not aware that we're doing it, but as you come to listen to what I'm sharing with you today, you might come to think, well, actually, yes, I am self-sabotaging as well, you know. So let's have a look and see a little
Yes.
about self-sabotage as well. So what is mental fitness? Mental fitness, it's the strength of mind that allows us to deal with life's challenges, you know, to handle these ups and downs of life with grace, with ease, and with a confidence that we know, like a surfer surfing those difficult waves in the
Hmm.
ocean, we know that we can surf those difficult challenges and waves in life that come sometimes. It's not about controlling the waves. We can't control life, we can't control the sea, but we can become a brilliant surfer, you know. And that's how we're managing to reach our potential. This is all about activating our potential. As
Hmm.
you know, human beings have got so much potential and we don't use all of it and we don't always know how to use all of it. Sometimes we get close and we know we have a very productive day or week or months or even years. And there are other times when we know we're really not achieving our potential and we feel it, we sense this. So this doing this work is enabling us to then be mentally fit and achieve our potential, you know, because the mind is a very, very powerful thing,
Yes. 100%.
isn't
Yes.
it?
Yes.
Yeah. So being mentally fit can help us to cope with certain mental health challenges. There are some people that have been diagnosed, maybe with depression, maybe with bipolar, you know, maybe with all sorts of mental um, conditions that people have. Some people suffer with anxiety. So, mental health is actually the absence of a mental illness. And mental health is a state of mind. It's feeling healthy, feeling positive and strong in our mind, and not feeling weak, like we can't really cope with life, which we all feel sometimes because we're
Hmm.
human beings. And mental fitness, almost like if you were to see somebody who's physically fit, they might be wearing trainers and a gym suit or something, and you think, oh, they've been to the gym, you know, they've been exercising, or they might be jogging. they might have a good posture. You know, you can see it sometimes when people are physically fit. It's you can see in the toned muscles. And also, when it comes to mental fitness, this is also to do with the presence of positive mental habits. So, when we're physically fit, we might have good posture, we might exercise regularly. There are positive physical habits that we do in order to be physically fit. And it's the same with the mental fitness. You know, you can sometimes, because we're intuitive beings, we can sometimes tell, can't we, when we're with somebody who's positive, they've got a positive energy. You know, we feel that the
Mm-hmm.
positivity from that person, that they are, we might not put it in those words, mentally fit, but we get a sense when somebody's of a quite high frequency, if you like, or they're quite high vibration because we feel good around them. You know, there's kind of a
Mm-hmm.
energy.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is mental fitness, the presence of positive mental habits. And I just like to share that if anybody does have more serious mental health problems, I'm a coach and I'm trained as a homeopath as well, but I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a therapist, you know. So if anybody may be watching this later or maybe has a mental health problem that's serious, then please go to the doctor, you know, go and seek some help from a professional who can help you, you know. Although
Mm-hmm.
this work may help somebody who's got some serious mental health problems, sometimes people just need a little bit more. It depends what the situation is. So, how do we exercise the mental muscles in our mind? Have you got any ideas, Maki? How would you say?
Well, maybe by to exercise it, I think maybe by recognizing some of the behavior, I don't know. I feel that could be, I don't know.
Yeah, I would
Mm-hmm.
say so. Recognizing some of the behavior, and then what would you do once you recognize some of the behavior?
To be honest, usually if it's personal, when I recognize that the situation makes me feel anxious, I try to understand why and sit on it and then acknowledge and then keep calm. And then once it's passed, I move on, really.
Okay.
That's what I do.
Yeah, no, that's very good. So you're acknowledging your emotions, whether they're, you know, anxiety or something like that. What we
Yes,
are negative emotions, but as we know, we will experience negative emotions because we're human. There's no need to make them wrong,
yes,
right? But what we don't want to do is sit in that negative emotion for a long time, you know. So
yeah,
we know it will pass, as you say, and we want to know how to make it pass quickly. And
yes,
something like
yes,
grieving, you know, sometimes if somebody passes away or, you know, we break up with somebody or we have a reason to grieve, that's a healthy, maybe negative emotion because it's not so nice to grieve, but that's a
yeah.
healthy emotion that we need to process. So it's not about toxic positivity, about being positive all the time, you know?
Mm-hmm,
So yeah, thank you. So you shared how to exercise the muscles in your mind might be acknowledging those emotions and sitting with it and
mm-hmm,
allowing it to pass, yeah?
mm-hmm.
And possibly changing the behavior, possibly acknowledging maybe what made you feel that way and then perhaps doing a different action. What would you say?
Well, do you know what? Sometimes I think, sometimes it's like, what I'm gonna give a simple example. I love watching thrillers, I do, but I've realized that it makes me very anxious, the
Trailers.
next day. Yeah, it does. It does makes me anxious and it makes me nervous about situation with my own children. So I've realized that this is not good for me. I have to step away from that kind of things.
Tell me more. What is a trailer for a film?
No, no, for thriller, those scary movies, and
Oh,
I
thrillers,
yes,
thrillers.
thrillers. Yes,
Sorry.
yes, yes, yeah. I love watching. I think I did before, but
Uh-huh.
now I've realized that it's not good for my own mental health because it does make me imagine things, and it's not
Mhm.
healthy. That's why I've decided to stop watching things like that. Yes,
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Great.
yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Interesting. Okay, I've never heard that one before. Although I
Yeah.
don't like horror films, I can't watch things that will activate some scary thoughts in my head.
Yes,
I won't
yes.
be able
No,
to go
I.
to the loo at night, you know, because I hear something. Ah, so
Yes.
yeah, I
Hmm.
understand. Yeah, no, so that's taking control of your mind, isn't it?
Yes, yes, 100.
Self-command. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
there's a way that we do with this work, this mental fitness, and self-command. simply means in this context is bringing the mind back to concentrate on something that we tell it to concentrate on, to
Okay.
focus on. So that's self-command, a bit like a dog, where you would command a dog, a pet in the park, you'd call it back by its name, you'd command that it came back rather than ran off wherever it wanted to run. And this is very similar to the mind. Sometimes the mind runs off to places that we wouldn't choose necessarily for it to be. And we have to bring the mind back to a place that we are then in charge of our mind and not letting our mind control us.
So how do you do that then? The
Right.
self, yes, sorry.
Exactly. Yeah, no, great.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to do right now. So we're going to do what we call some PQ reps. PQ, Mackie, stands for positive intelligence. And PQ, like IQ,
Mhm.
intellectual quotient, like EQ, emotional quotient, emotional intelligence, um, positive intelligence is simply said the amount of time that your mind is working for you as opposed to working against you. So your
Okay.
mind working for you as your friend or working against you as your enemy. So as your
Hmm.
friend, your mind will be taking you to some good places and making you feel good. As your enemy, your mind might be taking you to some dark places and not making you feel good. So if it's okay with you, we'll do some PQ reps, which is then you'll get to see how we access what we call our sage brain. And I
Okay.
don't want to give too much information, but I'm sure this is not too much yet.
No,
This
no, no, no. At the moment, I,
fantastic.
yes,
Yeah,
brilliant.
good. So the sage brain is the right brain. There's the left brain, which is the more survival brain, put very simply. This is where all of our sabotage happens in the left side of the brain. It's the logical side of the brain. It's the linear time. It's rational, very rational. And we need this left brain, absolutely. And the right brain is about creativity, is about ease and flow, and it's more about the bigger picture, the overview. So the creativity is something that as children at school, we're not necessarily nurturing and nourishing our creativity, our right brain, in terms of dance, music, drama, art, all of these subjects are not really given a lot of attention at school unless you go to a special school like a Steiner school or something like that, or that really focuses on the arts.
Hmm.
Because we focus very much on this left brain dominant stuff, these subjects like history, English, maths, geography, science, there's nothing wrong in those subjects. They're fantastic. The problem is that we don't balance out the left and the right brain development. So we
Hmm.
end up being a very left brain dominant society. And this is why we're a little bit out of balance in many ways. Because, for example, empathy, the empathy circuitry resides in the right brain, put very simply. And this, as you know, in the world, we lack empathy, don't we, in this world, the way we're blowing
Mm.
each other up and we're making decisions that are bad for the people, bad for the planet. So the right brain is really important to strengthen and build. And this is what we're going to do now.
Okay.
Oh, Mackie, I'd like to invite you, if it's okay with you, to close your eyes. I'm going to close mine. If
Hmm.
you feel more comfortable to take yourself off the camera, then please feel free to do that. But
Yes, I think so. Is that
yeah, of
okay?
course it is.
Yes.
Yeah, you can get the camera off
Uh,
and I'll guide
okay.
you through some PQ reps. So
Okay.
make sure that you're sitting comfortably on your chair with your
Hmm.
spine straight and relaxed and your head straight and relaxed.
Hmm.
Your shoulders nice and far away from your ears and your chest open. And start by taking a few deep breaths in through your nose and out through your nose. So inhaling a little bit more than you normally would and exhaling a little bit more air than you normally would. And starting to notice any thoughts that come to your mind and very gently letting them go and concentrating, focusing your attention on your breath. And starting to notice any thoughts that come to your mind and very gently letting them go and concentrating, focusing your attention on your breath. And 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 focusing your attention And when you've taken a few deep breaths, letting your breath relax back to its natural rhythm, natural relaxed rhythm, and taking your fingertips, placing them on your hairline, so on the top of your forehead, and
Hmm.
very, very gently and very slowly, starting to slide your fingertips ever so slowly down your forehead, and noticing all of those sensations of touch on your skin as your fingertips slide very slowly over your eyebrows and very slowly over your eyelids, letting your thoughts go as they come and focusing your attention on the sensation of touch on your face. So noticing your fingertips very slowly sliding down your cheeks and then stopping just at your top lip where you might have a moustache, leaving enough space between your nostrils and your top lip, your upper lip, so you can breathe easily, and focusing lots of attention on the warm air as you exhale from your nostrils. So feeling that air from your nostrils as you exhale on your fingertips. And starting to notice any sounds that you can hear. So any faraway sounds. Maybe you can hear some birds or an aeroplane or anything that you weren't really paying attention to before. So focusing your attention on those sounds now with your fingertips on your upper lip. And then very slowly sliding your fingertips over your lips and over your chin and resting your hands in your lap, noticing the weight of your body on the chair. And again, taking two fingertips and very gently rubbing your fingertips together with enough attention and focus that you can feel the ridges on each fingertip. So very gently rubbing them together, letting any thoughts go that come to your mind, and starting to notice those ridges on the fingertips. And then taking one hand and placing that on your heart center, so your chest, and another hand on your stomach, and noticing the very gentle rise and fall of your chest and stomach as you breathe in and out. And then when you're ready, open your eyes.
Yes.
So
Mhm.
thank you, Mackie.
No problem. Let me put the video back. I don't. Oh
Yay.
gosh.
Yeah.
Oh la la. Yes. Hmm.
Yes, amazing. So did that make you feel relaxed?
Yes, it did. I love things like that actually. I've done it years ago. I really like it.
Yeah, it's lovely,
Yes.
isn't it? It takes you to a
Yes.
nice space of calm.
Yes.
And that's how we wake up our sage brain. So you just activated your right brain. And that was called doing some PQ reps, you know? So
Okay.
we were commanding our mind, weren't we, to focus on the breathing, first of all, and on the sensation of fingertips on the
Hmm.
skin, and letting any thoughts go and really bringing our mind to focus on something physical. And that's how we get out of our body, you know, sorry, not out of our body, out of our head and back
Mm-hmm.
into our body.
Do, but yeah.
When we're
Mm-hmm.
anxious and when we're stressed, we're all up here in the head, aren't we? Thinking
Yeah.
about, and we need to get back into our body and get that presence back, that we're in the present moment and we're feeling good. So, what is positive intelligence? The positive intelligence I've shared with you already, that is the measurement of your PQ, the amount of
Mm-hmm.
time that your mind is acting as your friend rather than your enemy. And you can see the black circle is here where we self-sabotage,
Yes.
big one on the right. And then we have the small self-mastery. That's not what we want. We want to be on the other side where we've got a big self-mastery and we know how to use our mind to make it work for us. And we have a small amount of self-sabotage because we're human and we're going to do things sometimes or think things sometimes that are not going to be bringing us to our ideal state. So this
Mm-hmm.
is PQ, positive intelligence. Have you heard of it before, Mackie?
No, no,
Okay.
not at all. I'm new, completely new to this.
Great, great. Okay, well, this is the man Shazad Shamin who wrote the book Positive Intelligence. And interestingly, his tagline is why only 20% of teams and individuals achieve their true potential and how you can achieve yours. And it sounds a little bit cheesy, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
but we all know, don't we, that many of us have this unlimited potential and we don't all use our potential, whether there are things that we want to do in life or, whether there are ways that we want to feel in life.
Mm-hmm.
That's our potential is unlimited as we're alive. And this book and this training, this work is about achieving a state where we can then very gently, in ease and flow, we can move towards living in a way where we are accessing more of our potential and we feel good at the same time. It's not about push, push, push. This work is very much about ease and flow. The way
Mm-hmm.
sage, if you like, is about ease and flow. The sage brain being the right brain, ease and flow, true self, the
Mm-hmm.
left brain, saboteur brain, survival brain, false self, stress. That's
Yeah.
left and then the right. So Shazad Shamin, actually, he suffered with clinical depression for the first 30 years of his life. And he shares this work. He also, he was it an engineer or operating system or something that he did that made him kind of create this? He calls it an operating system for the mind where we can do this
Mm-hmm.
work. And in 7 weeks, this is the course that I share with people. It's a 7 week mental fitness course. And the idea is that in 7 weeks, you do lots of the brain training that we did just now. And you
Yeah.
do consistently for 7 weeks and learn a lot of the stuff about self-sabotage and how to move ourselves from these neural pathways that will lead to stress and self-sabotage away from that towards the side of the brain that is going to make us feel happier and better and allow us to access our potential. And this is the work that he shares in the course. After 7 weeks, it takes between 6 and 8 weeks for the grey matter in the brain to start showing decreased activity in the left brain, the saboteur region, and extra, more increased activity in the right brain. So
Mm-hmm.
this is the work that he shares, and this is the work that I do. You can see my little book here.
Yes, at the back. Yes.
Yeah, so it's the mental fitness coaching. I've trained in consciousness coaching as well, which is very interesting. And I bring some of that work into the work that I do with this and the positive intelligence coaching that I've trained in. I noticed, even though I'd done quite a lot of work with the other stuff, there's always more to do. And I found that doing this course myself
Mm-hmm.
totally changed my experience of life in a way that I'm still doing it. I'm still working on it every day. It's never ending. So
Mm-hmm.
this is where the work comes from anyway. So basically, the saboteurs live in the left brain, the survival brain, and
Mm-hmm.
these are the saboteurs. So these are the 9 saboteurs. And of course, we don't really have people, living in our head. This is just personifying behaviors that we
Yeah.
have when we are self-sabotaging. So somebody might be a pleaser. You see the pleaser in the middle with all the hands trying to give to everybody and not really able to give to themselves and put themselves first. And
Mm-hmm.
then there's the stickler, which is another word for being a perfectionist, with a magnifying glass, trying to make sure everything's perfect. And these are the ways that we sabotage ourselves, many different ways. Actually, I say many, but only nine. And there's the controller, which is a very human way to
Mm-hmm.
behave when we feel threatened, when we feel triggered by something. And this, where it says here, our saboteurs are activated when we're triggered by our judge. The judge is the master saboteur. So everything begins with the judge. And here it shares that the judge is judging three things. So we judge ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
judge other people, and we judge our circumstances. And that means that we make them wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And when we make something wrong, that's when our saboteurs come in to help us deal with the situation that we've made wrong. So everybody sabotages in a different way. And I'm going to share here to start by looking at what we're judging, because that's where it begins. So I'd like to share an example of something that I judge, and then I'd love you to share an example of some things that you might judge if you're happy to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we judge ourselves. Sometimes we say we judge our body a lot. We judge our age, we judge our intelligence, we judge our behavior, we judge our personality. So, I would say for myself, what do I judge? I'm getting much better at this judging, actually. So I don't judge myself a lot, but sometimes I would say perhaps I judge that I haven't done enough. I'm a bit of a hyperachiever. My saboteur would be very much about achieving. So sometimes that would lead me to the path of saying, "Oh, Marimba, you haven't done much today." I used
Mm-hmm.
to be really big achieving, but still at the end of the day, I would feel unfulfilled. So this is one area that I judge myself. Could you share anything that maybe you judge about yourself if you're happy to?
Yeah, sometimes I think I am not good enough as well. So yeah, yeah,
Exactly. So that's where we judge ourselves.
yeah.
Then others. So sometimes we judge other people with being stingy, being controlling. Sometimes we judge the things people wear. This judge is active in us all of the time.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
suppose, yeah, where I judge others, I actually probably judge others for judging. I think, oh, they're very judgmental, and that's me judging their judge.
Yeah, it's true. It's
You
true though.
know?
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
So that's one area that I know I judge others actually, and I need to watch that. And we're going to talk about how to intercept this judge in a minute. So, how
Mm-hmm.
about you, Mackie? Is there anywhere that you know that you judge other people, perhaps, that you're willing to share?
To be honest, it depends on days if or circumstances. Sometimes I don't, and some
Mm.
days I do. When I feel maybe a bit low, I do judge people. Maybe I sometimes envy people when I feel that things are not going right in my. But not that I wish not good for them, but I just envy them.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
yeah.
And
For me.
yeah,
It's much of how I slept. And if I sleep good, I think I'm less judgmental towards
yeah.
other people. But when I feel like I haven't had a good sleep, sometimes I can tend that way.
Yeah, I do
Yeah,
because when we're tired, we're irritable and we're not
yeah,
full up, we're not firing from all cylinders. So we get triggered and reactive quite quickly, don't we?
yeah,
Notice that.
100%.
Yeah, yesterday I was tired and I noticed that I was feeling quite irritated. So yeah, definitely the sleep is important, isn't it?
Yes, 100%. You know?
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
100%.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
circumstances. So we judge our circumstances. Maybe we think, I've put the example, I ought to own my own house by now, or I ought to have a better car, I ought to be in a different job, or, I should something. Should is a very much judge language, when we're telling ourselves what we should and shouldn't do, or what they should or shouldn't do. So yeah, I
Hmm.
would say for me, circumstances, where do I judge my circumstances? Again, I would say because I'm quite a hyperachiever, I would say sometimes I judge my circumstances that I'm a certain age and I ought to have my house in Spain by now. I ought to have my Range Rover, although I know it's not very environmentally friendly, so I might have to change that. But yeah,
Yeah.
I probably judge where I'm at in life at this point and that I ought to be further down the road. So probably that's where I judge my circumstances, have a tendency to. How about you?
hmm
Have you
It's
got
this, I think it's the same for me. I feel like I should be further down the road in terms of career and do something else with my life. So I'm a bit judgmental towards that
yeah,
side of things, yes.
exactly. Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you.
hmm
So I'm not quite sure what's next here, but yeah. So when we judge ourselves, we then invite the saboteurs to come and help us because judging activates feelings like frustration,
hmm
shame, and guilt are very much about the judge. Shame and guilt are massive, actually. When we feel guilty, we feel embarrassed, we feel not good enough. All of these emotions are very judgy. And
Yeah.
just to go back here, I'll give you an example. So, here, if you look at the stickler, I know this one very well because perfectionist as stickler has been one of mine. It still is, actually. I've
hmm
changed a lot since doing this work. So if I was at home and I felt that I hadn't done enough and I had loads to do and I wasn't doing very well with my to-do list, I might do something like start tidying up my desk, or tidying
hmm
the house. That would be common for me in the past, sometimes even still now, because that makes me feel better. It helps me feel productive and it calms my anxiety about feeling that I haven't achieved enough. So this,
hmm
I'm judging my circumstances. I haven't achieved enough. I'm judging myself. Therefore, I think, oh, I'll start tidying up and putting things in place and cleaning the kitchen or something. So
hmm
I would have a very tidy house, but I haven't actually done the things that are going to make me feel more fulfilled and productive, and that I have achieved what I want to achieve, like more in my own business, for example.
Yeah.
So does that make sense?
Yes. No, 100% does. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it
Yeah. Yeah.
comes, it's the emotion that we find it difficult when we feel triggered, frustrated. Oh, I haven't done this, I haven't done that. Oh, I'll just tidy up and then I feel better. So
hmm
that's where the stickler saboteur could get me in trouble and used to a lot because I would be late, maybe because I'm trying to tidy the house before I go out to make everything perfect, to calm my anxiety, maybe about where I'm going or something like that. And
hmm
actually, it's not what's needed. The stickler or the perfectionist, let's call it the stickler for the sake of this,
hmm
really focusing on making everything perfect. It's really an exhausting saboteur. And I can go a little bit forward to talk a little bit more
hmm
about the stickler here because I think it will be helpful. It's quite a lot here, actually. Here we
Yeah.
go. Saboteur, here we go. So if you can see here the stickler, there are
Yes.
underlying strengths of the stickler. It's very good to be organized, high standards, detail oriented, able to bring organization and order into ambiguity and chaos.
hmm
But then when the saboteur is holding the reins of our behavior, if you like, so when we haven't charged up our right brain, when we haven't got a high PQ, we haven't got a high positive intelligence because our mind is working against us. We've got a low PQ. We haven't done
hmm
PQ reps to activate this right brain that takes us out of living in the survival. We are then under the influence of our saboteurs. And so, for somebody like me, I'm using myself as an example because I know that well. The stickler would try and be perfectionist about too many things, causing me even more anxiety and discouragement, making me really self-critical and then disappointed with other people who are imperfect as well. So, there are these two sides. And when the sage is using the strength, because saboteurs are our greatest strengths overused and abused.
Yeah. Yeah.
So our greatest strengths are what we go to use because it's easy. If there's a tiger chasing you and you're a good runner, you're going to run. If a tiger's chasing you and you're a good climber, you're going to climb a tree. And the reason
hmm
I'm using a tiger is because it goes back to this old survival brain stuff, that's very instinctive. And it's habits and patterns and behaviors that we've learned as children. So probably as a child, I probably got praise for tidying up, and so
hmm
probably on some level it's stuck with me. And I still do that, or I used to. I'm getting much better to make my environment perfect, and then everybody's happy. I feel happy. But sometimes this behavior is inappropriate,
Hmm.
and we don't need to do that anymore. We need to do something else. So does that make sense?
Yes, 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 yes. It's quite interesting actually to see all
Yeah.
those. Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
So just out of interest, Mackie, you haven't done the saboteur assessment test yet, which is a free
No.
online test that you can do, and then you can find out your top three saboteurs by answering, I think it's about 50 questions or 30, I can't remember,
Okay.
about 5 minutes, and you can answer questions just quickly what comes from the top of your head. And then you will receive a detailed email. This is through Positive Intelligence, and they
Hmm.
send you the email that tells you, this is your test results, your saboteur assessment results. And this will show you where your top three saboteurs are. So
I- Is it going to be in your notes somewhere where I could
I'm going to
find
send
the?
it to you,
Okay,
yeah,
brilliant.
afterwards.
Thank you. Okay,
Yeah,
brilliant.
I'll send
Thank
it
you.
to you. You're welcome. So,
Thanks.
looking at these, Mackie, would you say you resonate with any of these saboteur
Um,
behaviors?
I think uh, uh, sometimes an avoider, I would say, sometimes, and sometimes a pleaser as well, which is, yeah.
Yeah,
But
they're
yes,
very common. Very
yeah,
common. And how would
yeah.
you say you avoid? Is there anything in particular that you avoid?
Well, when I have to do something, I don't always want to do it because it makes me uncomfortable. So I do go and do something else, you
Yeah,
know? Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. Key thing
yeah.
you said there was makes me uncomfortable.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they're
So, hmm. Yes. And pleaser, I think it's like you say, I think a lot of those things it comes from your childhood sometimes, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank
Yes.
you. Thank
Hmm.
you. So while we're here, I'd like to share something that you can take away just while
Okay.
we're at this point. And we've spoken about the judge, and we've
Hmm.
spoken about the judge activating our saboteurs. So what I'd like to share with you, Mackie, is a way that we can interrupt this pattern, of
Okay.
our saboteurs being activated. So when we start to feel negative emotion, there was a slide back here. Yeah, so this one, are
Yes.
negative emotions good for us? And sorry, it looks a bit stark, the picture, but the
Mm-hmm.
thing is, it's about keeping our hand on the hot stove, which is what we human beings tend to do, because when we feel a negative emotion, we tend to go down that pathway and maybe stay there for a little bit too long. Negative
Hmm.
emotions are very good for us because if this person didn't feel the pain of the heat, they wouldn't quickly take their hand off the hot stove, And if
Yeah.
they put their hand on the stove, they're going to burn their hand to the bone and it's going to be terrible. So, pain actually and negative emotion is actually good for us, but only for a very short time. And when we start to feel pain, I'm relating pain to negative emotions. So when we start to feel stressed, we start to feel tired, irritated, frustrated, just pissed off, if you'll excuse my language, we start to feel
Hmm.
antsy. This is how we can tell that we're judging something. Usually it's because we're judging ourselves, we're judging others, or
Hmm.
we're judging our circumstances.
Hmm.
And so the way to stop this is to catch the judge, okay? So we stop and we realize I'm not feeling great. What could I be judging? Am I judging myself? Am I judging someone else? Am I judging my circumstances? And usually, after practicing this for a while, it becomes quite clear. I'm going to go back to the judge while I'm talking about this. It's going
Yeah.
to be quite clear what we're judging. And when we realize, oh my God, I was really judging myself then and starting to feel bad, or I was really judging my kids then or something and starting to feel irritated, or judging my partner and starting to feel like, disappointed maybe, or upset, or angry.
Hmm.
And what we do is we celebrate catching the judge. So we celebrate for 10 seconds, a minimum of 10 seconds, as if we would if our favorite team scored a goal or something.
Hmm.
Or if somebody gave us something, we might go, hooray, oh, yeah, this is great, fantastic, thank you, or hooray, they scored a goal. We'd be in this energy for a minimum of 10 seconds. And what that does is it floods dopamine to our brain and it makes us feel better immediately. We can't celebrate and feel good without feeling better because of the dopamine.
Mm-hmm.
What we're doing, Mackie, is we're unconditionally celebrating. We're not making it conditional. Oh, I'll only celebrate when it's my birthday or when I win a competition or, when my favorite team has scored a goal or something. We're actually choosing to celebrate. So we're commanding our mind to celebrate. So we do that for 10 seconds. Yay. If we're out somewhere, we can't necessarily do
No, no, obviously.
on the train, we can, if we want to, but we probably don't want to. So we can do it internally. We can just say, yes, yes, I caught my judge. I caught my judge. And interestingly, our judge is going to want to stop us from doing this because it will judge us and say, you're being silly. Why are you doing, ooh, hooray,
Mm-hmm.
hooray, hooray. This is again the judge. It's a vicious cycle. So we have to just celebrate when we've caught ourselves feeling irritable, catching the judge, celebrating for 10 seconds, a minimum, and
Mm-hmm.
then we flood the brain with dopamine. So we move out of that irritation. We feel better. Then we do some PQ reps, maybe just a few, can be rubbing the fingertips together. If we're in a meeting with people and we're triggered with other people and our eyes are open, we can focus on something. I can really focus on the trees right now behind you and look at the color and look at the
Mm-hmm.
shape of the tree. And again, and let my thoughts go, because I'm commanding my mind to focus on the tree behind you and look at the colors and look at the shapes and where the sky is coming through and everything, I'm activating my right brain. That makes sense.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yes.
we activate the right brain and then we take a different action because we realize we come out of the delusion that this situation is wrong. The judge is a liar. It's a big statement to say, but our judge is a brutal liar who is lying to us all the time about things being wrong, us, them, and the circumstances. And this is how we end up spending time in negative emotion for too long. Whereas when we
Mm-hmm.
do this work and we start to notice our negative emotions and we remember that hand on the hot stove and we start to remember, hold on a minute, I am feeling bad. Have I got my hand on the hot stove? What am I judging? I can see what I'm judging. I'm going to celebrate.
Mm-hmm.
I feel better now. Oh, I'm going to do some few PQ reps, and then take a different action. And this is all it takes, even though it sounds like quite a lot, doing it over and over again, we start to be able to interrupt this saboteur hijacking, is what we call it. When you're hijacked by your saboteurs, your judge, your saboteurs are hijacking you. And
Mm-hmm.
how we feel negative emotion and our lives are not great.
Yeah.
Do you think about that, Mackie?
No, I'd love to try that actually because I'm sure it's a matter of practice, practice, practice
Yeah,
until it becomes a habit, you know?
yes, yes.
And I'd love to try, really,
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
great. So maybe next time you feel negative emotion and you
Yeah.
feel that charge, maybe you can ask yourself, what am I judging? Myself, other people, or the circumstances, and then celebrate that you caught your judge. You didn't allow your judge to make you feel bad. So
Mm-hmm.
this is one thing that I wanted to share.
That's
And
very good, actually, you
yeah,
know?
it's
Mm-hmm.
interesting, isn't it? It's
Mm-hmm.
something I hadn't heard of before.
Me neither.
Yeah, I know, me too. I mean, I knew people say be positive and breathe and everything. And that's true. Yes, be positive and breathe. And this extra information about behaviors personified with
Mm-hmm.
saboteurs that help us to kind of see what's going on in a way that almost gives it a little bit of separation. So we can say,
Mm-hmm.
that's my judge. It's not me that thinks I haven't achieved enough. It's
Mm-hmm.
my judgmental judge that's telling me, Marimba, you haven't achieved enough. And it just gives that little bit of separation so that we can stop identifying with how we feel. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it's not me, my sage, my true self is happy. My judge is unhappy and angry and wants me to, work hard. The
Mm-hmm.
sage is all about ease and flow. I'm not going to judge myself. I'm going to do things in my own way, and I'm going to understand how this avoider works. How does this pleaser work so that I can then interrupt these saboteur behavior pathways and start moving into another pathway. And that's how we start to activate more of our potential, because
Mm-hmm.
we clear the space of the negative feelings over time. We have more space in our life that's happy, that's like clearing a shelf, all that
Mm-hmm.
clutter on the shelf, all those thoughts that we've allowed all these years, all these beliefs that we've had, we start to clear them out of the way. And then we have an empty shelf that we can choose. What do I choose to put on that shelf rather than just managing what's on there, if that makes any sense?
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. No.
Great, great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's have a look. So this is just a little example of self-sabotage, and how we actually do it to ourselves. There's no one to blame. We can't say it was them or it's us. We actually sabotage ourselves.
Yeah.
You can see this guy, it makes no sense. He's going to be falling off the branch of the tree in a minute. And this lady is trying to move forwards, but part of her is dragging herself back. And this is how we work in life. It's crazy, we kind of go round in circles wanting to move forwards, but shooting ourselves in the foot as we do it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really helpful to start to look at, where am I sabotaging myself? Um, okay, so this is a little graph
Mm-hmm.
show sage baseline. So basically, the higher your sage baseline, and you achieve a sage baseline by doing the mental fitness reps, by exercising those muscles and doing self-command. So in the course, or even if you don't have the course, you can still do PQ reps for as long as you want to. You might
Mm-hmm.
do them in the morning, you might choose to do them in the afternoon. Anytime you want to, you can stop. Close your eyes, you can breathe, you can feel the weight of your body on your chair or feel the weight of your feet on the floor. You can take some breaths in through your nose and out through your nose, and you can really do that anytime you want to. I do it many times during the day, and my life is much better for it, I can tell you. So, this diagram shows where we are hijacked and what happens. So, if you can see at 7 in the morning, there's a little hijack, um, but it doesn't reach the yellow line until maybe, let's say, 7:30. So maybe
Mm-hmm.
that's when you're getting the kids to school if you're a parent, and then they start playing up and you're okay for a while, but then one of them, chucks the cereal at the other one and they spills all over their uniform, and you've got a meeting at work. Woo, your saboteurs have gone up there, you're completely hijacked because
Mm-hmm.
your sage baseline isn't high enough so that you don't get hijacked. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes.
this is why it's really important to have this sage baseline. You can see round about 8 o'clock to, let's say, like 11, maybe. Everything's fine, things are happening, but it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
go above that sage baseline. And then maybe 11:30, I don't know, you're late for a meeting or something happens and you get hijacked again. You start to feel really irritated and stressed. And this kind of shows, yeah, that how we feel hijacked when our saboteur intensity goes above our sage intensity. And it really is tangible. I don't know if you've ever had moments where you feel so angry or so stressed, you just can't shift it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes, I have.
And then it
Yes.
passes, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It-
Yes. After a long while, it does. Yes.
and
Mm-hmm.
thank goodness it does.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's a horrible feeling, isn't it, to be in that place where we just don't want to be.
No,
So
it doesn't feel good,
it
doesn't.
really doesn't. It doesn't. And not only does it not feel good, we are constantly giving out mirror neurons to other people. Our brain is emitting neurons that we all pick up on each other's neurons, we mirror each other, unconsciously so. So when we're in a positive state and we've got a high PQ, not only does it impact us in a better way, but it also impacts other people because they feel better in our presence. And
Hmm.
it's that we're behaving better towards others, we're being less judgmental, and we're happier. So a happier person is going to be better for everything, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
What do they say that hurt people, angry people behave badly. So
Hmm.
we're human, we do get angry, we do get irritated and disappointed and frustrated. And, when we're judging ourselves a lot of the time, we have to bring other people down as well because we can't be the only ones who feel small and insignificant. And we feel that shame about our circumstances or whatever we feel shame about. It's very normal human emotion. It's not a nice one, but it's a
Hmm.
life state. And when we feel that way, we tend to be, you mentioned envy earlier, we tend to be envious of other
Yes.
people because we make up that their life is better than ours. And then how
Hmm.
can we feel that? That's not a good feeling. So then we need to bring them down. Oh, that cow or that bitch or whatever we
Yes.
we get like that sometimes,
Yes.
and it's
Yes.
not nice. So this work is very important because it stops us from going into that deluded place of making up stories about other people's lives that they're better than ours or worse than ours. We end up really calming that judgment. Once we calm the judgment of ourselves, we don't need to go around judging everybody else, because wouldn't it
Hmm.
be terrible if we were the only ones who feel small, it's not a nice feeling.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. So, because we're coming to the end, we've just got a few minutes left.
Okay.
I'd like to share that there is a 7-week mental fitness course. I don't think I've got lots of information about the course here, but I do want to share. I want to share this, yeah, why it's difficult to maintain new positive habits. Do you find it difficult to maintain new positive habits?
I do. I really do. But I've noticed that what I always tell myself is it takes 2 weeks to get used to something, and I try to persevere. I always put in my head. I give the example of when I've decided to go back to the gym the first 2 weeks, or when I've decided to eat healthy. The first 2 weeks are always hard, but then I've noticed that every time I pass 2 weeks, I feel better, and I've realized that it's worth its while. And sometimes there might be relapse, but it's fine in
Yeah,
whatever habits you want to change,
yeah.
yeah.
Great.
But it is difficult, you
Yeah,
know.
isn't it difficult? Yeah.
Yes,
And it's
yes,
always things that require effort, isn't it? And that's where our
yeah.
saboteurs can come in, the avoider, oh, I don't doesn't feel good. I don't want to get up early and go to the gym,
Hmm.
so we'll make it easy, but it is difficult. And, you know, the idea is that because I'm a coach, and I work with people who want to go from here to here,
Yeah.
clear the obstacles out of the way, I notice that people know what to do. We know what we need to do. We're not stupid. Most of us are not
Hmm.
stupid. Some of us are stupid because we're human beings. It's normal to be stupid. But what I'm saying is we know what actions we need to take. So it's the insight that's there, but we find it very difficult to take the action sometimes. And this is where the practice comes in, the
Hmm.
neural pathways, the mental fitness. This is where being mentally fit allows us to overcome our self-sabotage or procrastination or avoidance, whatever it is that we're doing. It's because we haven't got this mental strength. We can start physically by lifting a light weight. Um, and after we've lifted that light weight, we can lift a stronger weight and
Yeah.
we get physically strong. Our muscles will build. And it's the same with the mental muscles. We might start with a small challenge in life that we then find difficult, but we use the interrupting the judge, intercepting the saboteurs, celebrating, doing some
Hmm.
peak reps and taking a different path. And then
Hmm.
we find, yeah, I've managed to do it in this area, but then, typically in life, because as we're here, we're always evolving, life will give us a bigger challenge, won't it? And then the
Hmm.
bigger challenge comes along. And as we grow, we realize, don't worry, this is a bigger, heavier weight. I'm going to continue with my mental fitness practice, and I'm going to even be able to deal with this. And that's a wonderful feeling to know that we can deal with anything. So that's what the training and the PQ program enables us to do. So for the sake of the time, Mackie, because we're on 6 o'clock, is
Oh,
there?
is it? Oh yes, I
Yeah,
can see. Oh my gosh,
yeah.
it's gone so
It's
quick.
gone so quickly, hasn't it? I
Yes,
know.
yes, yes,
I
yes,
know.
yes.
I always ask people at the end of these sessions, what's been your nugget? What's been most valuable for you to learn today that's been helpful for your life, please, if you could share.
Well, I think the breathing exercise that I mean, breathing and I've forgotten the term you use, PQ, PQ.
PQ rep. Yeah.
Yes, I think that was quite interesting, and also finding the judge. It was something that I am really interested in so much,
Okay,
to
great.
be honest, and yeah,
Amazing.
yes,
Thank you. Yeah, so for breathing and finding the judge, those would be things that would change your life. Absolutely. Just
yes.
those two even. So
And
that's
it,
great.
it would be nice if we could have access to all those things that we've done
Yes.
today. Yes,
Yes.
to be able to have a look at them, or if possible. Are you going to
Yeah.
put it on your Instagram, a link or anything like that? Or
Yeah. Well, what I could do, I might well upload this video actually.
oh yes, okay. That's
Upload the
yes.
video if it's okay with you.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
fine. Absolutely fine. Yes.
It would be
Yes.
handy to then look again and see what we talked about. And what
Yes.
I'll do is, Mackie, I'll send you the saboteur assessment test, the free
Yes.
one, so you can have a look. And then I will share with you, if you'd like, a complimentary debrief. So we could have a session online and I can unpack it with you if you
Oh
wanted.
yes, please. That'll be
Yeah,
great.
that'd
Yes,
be good because
please.
I share some saboteur specific tips. So if you've got your
Yes.
high ones are the avoider or the hyperachiever, then I'll share with you some specific tips that you can do once you've interrupted and intercepted the judge, done some PQ reps. Each saboteur has a specific, what we call a sage step that you take. And I'll give
Mm-hmm.
you one example and then we'll finish, just so you know.
Yes.
So, for example, with the avoider, the
Mm-hmm.
sage step is to do some PQ reps and take that first action and celebrate. So that's very simply you, if you need to make a difficult conversation with somebody, for example, and you've been avoiding it,
Mm-hmm.
think it might lead to conflict, which will be uncomfortable and you want to avoid it, you would take that first step and a very easy step, which might be maybe to write down some things that you want to share with that person that's difficult, not going from 0 to 100 and ringing them up and telling them, it's difficult
Yes.
to change.
Yes.
We make
Mm-hmm.
it really nice and easy. It's all about ease and flow. So you think, okay, I'll take that first step. I'll write down what I want to share with this person, and then I'll celebrate, and that's it. So that's a sage step for the avoider, saboteur, for example. And it seems small, but actually, when we've got things to do, and then we take that little step and celebrate, it seems easy. So we're more likely to take the next step rather than thinking, right, I've got to do all of that. I've got to ring them and tell them. And it's no, no, no. Ease and flow, one thing at
Mm-hmm.
a time. So does
Mm-hmm.
that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yes, it
Amazing.
does. Yes.
Okay, lovely.
It's
So I'm going to finish the recording